All right, so let's talk about what's next for Brian Callahan. He finished 3 of his 4 interviews. He interviewed with the Falcons, the Titans, and the Chargers. Now he has the Panthers left on Thursday, and he's going to potentially get one of those jobs. Now, we talked about many times is that at the end of the day, these teams are interviewing a lot of different people. So it's not just one person. It's like, usually each team is probably going to interview around 10 to 15 people, 10, 15 candidates, and then choose which one they want. But at the end of the day, there is a process after this initial interview process. And that interview process after this one is going to be the more strict one of getting down, cutting down the list to exactly what personnel these teams want. So on January 2nd, 22nd, which is around 6 days from now, they're able to do in-person interviews. So it's not permitted until then. Right now, it's pretty much just a phone interview. It's talking to the individual, seeing over the phone what they like, what they don't like. Kind of getting a feel for the coach. Now, once you get in-person interviews, that's usually when the list kind of gets a little bit more limited down, and that's when you start to really, kind of find out who you like. Let's be honest, the best way to hire someone, really, yes, they do phone interviews, but it's really in person, because then you can kind of get a feel of how this person is, in general. It's not just like, okay, well, they say all the right things, but how is their body language? How do they act? How do they act within a second of me saying something to their face, right? So there's always these different, better processes that you go through when you're in person versus over the phone. And what we saw last year is this process, this point we get to, is actually where we saw that, for example, Lou lost the head coaching job opportunity for the Cardinals over Rich Gannon. Because when they did this, process of the in-person interview, that's when they said that they figured out Lou didn't have the it factor to him that Rich Gannon had. So they went with Rich Gannon, and they didn't go with Lou because he didn't have the it factor. So again, it's not always a positive thing at the end of the day. It's not always like, they do the in-person interview and they make the right choice. But it helps them a lot to figure out which choice would be the personal best choice to go with. So that's kind of the next process. He has an interview on Thursday, and then we have to figure out, which teams are going to bring him for the in-person interview. Now, keep in mind, there's a very good potential here that he has 0 teams that bring him in for the in-person interview. And that is just simply is a over-the-phone type interview, and that's pretty much that. So it's very possible he doesn't have many, teams that interviewed him and love him over other options. Sorry for the quick cut, guys. There was something in my eye, and it was destroying me right now. But anyway, he might not get an in-person interview. And in a week or two time, we might be saying, wow, okay, Brian Callahan is not going to get a shot at head coach, and it is what it is. Or he could be, again, a top 2 candidate from these said teams. Now, here's the thing that is going to kind of limit it down. The Chargers just interviewed with Jim Harbaugh. If the Chargers get Jim Harbaugh, Brian Callahan is not going to get that job. The Titans, the Falcons, and the Panthers, I haven't heard any huge names who have interviewed with them, but they're most likely all going to be interviewing Jim Harbaugh. You have not Dan Campbell, sorry. You have Bill Belichick, who's probably going to be interviewing with the Chargers, would be my guess. Potentially some other candidates. Again, like I said before in my video earlier, there's so much supply of possible head coaches and so little demand for the position. You have 8 positions available. So we're going to just kind of have to wait and see what happens. And at the end of the day, Dan Pitcher will be the OC if we do end up losing Brian Callahan. But as we go more and more day in, day out, I don't think we're going to lose him. When you start looking at the list of coaches that potentially are going against him, and again, listen, I give him full credit. He's a great OC. I love the guy. He's an amazing person. And obviously that Jake Browning led offense that he coached is the reason why he's in this position he's in right now. If Jake Browning would have came in and was absolutely awful, then he would not be getting this opportunity / chance to become a head coach, right? So that Jake Browning led offense that got us almost to the playoffs and a plus 500 record with all of our guys injured is the reason why he's in this spot right now. But I don't think he's going to leave. And I don't think he's going to win over these other coaches. And it's, again, not because of the fact he's a bad coach. I think it's just the fact that there are better guys out there for the position. But that is one man's opinion. So we'll kind of see how this all goes out. And I'll see you guys next one.